former NFL MVP, member of the College Football Hall of Fame, member of the Redskins Ring of Fame. You can follow Joe on Twitter at Theismann7. And Joe, are you aware that it was 37 years ago today that you won your Super Bowl?
Actually, I was. And good morning to Eminem.
Thank you.
You guys, you're now dubbed Eminem. Actually, I was. I wondered why I felt so good this morning, and then I looked at it and I thought, I know why now, because it was that long ago. I can't believe it's been 37 years, by the way. It's just amazing how time flies. But yeah, you get around this time of year and different days, things come up on the calendar of the experiences that we had.
Joe, what do you remember about the week leading up? How confident were you? And was there a moment during the game in which you said, we got these suckers?
Well, it's interesting. It really started leading up to the game. We only had 1 week in preparation because, remember, it was a strike year.
Yep.
And I think we only played 10 games during the season, and then we had the playoffs after that. So as soon as we beat the Cowboys, we flew right to Pasadena to get ready to play the Dolphins. And so it's almost like you didn't have time to comprehend what was about to take place. The media circus wasn't anywhere near what it is today. It was big, but it was, again, 37 years ago, it was very different from a size standpoint. And then you tried to just make it like another football game. Wednesday was preparations and practice, Thursday preparation, practice, same schedule on Friday, Saturday, and then Saturday night it starts to hit you the magnitude of what you're about to get involved in. I mean, it's the World Championship. This is for all the marbles. Almost didn't have time to get nervous for that game. And I remember what Coach Gibbs told us Saturday night. We were having our quarterback meeting, and he said, look, we want to be within a score of these guys because we're bigger up front. We can wear them down. At the end of the game, if we need to run the football, we can handle whatever they can throw at us up front. And that's basically, what the Killer Bees were. They were a great bunch of athletes that weren't as big as our Hogs. And as the game went on, getting to the football game, when I knocked the ball away from Kim Bocamper and sort of saved that situation, we knew we were going to be in a great football game with a great football team. And we wanted to stay close. That would have, I think, made it 24-13 if Kim catches that, which he still hasn't forgiven me, even though I go to his restaurant all the time in Fort Lauderdale. I want to. It's sort of my sympathy support for him. But anyway, it's as the game went on, I felt like we sort of wore him down, just with the guys up front and of course Big John running it. We made a couple of plays. We made some adjustments. Joe put in a couple of little wrinkles that paid off for us. And before you know it, I'm kneeling down in the huddle looking at the guys going Super Bowl winning formation on 2. And even just saying that, I get goosebumps.
David, it's one thing I can really read into this. He does the obligatory meal at Bocamper's burger
right.
and burger joint. And then you look at his menu at Theismann's. And I mean,
we're a little different.
You think? You think?
Boy, that one pass.
I mean, one's a Super Bowl winner and one gave the ball back to you. I don't know what to tell you, Joe.
Well, what was really funny when I stripped the ball away from him. He was in the end zone, so I stripped the ball away. He looked at me. I looked at him. It was one of those moments that just freezes in your mind and time. And I looked at him and I went, "That was close." And I swear he wanted to strangle me. Oh gosh. But it was, I mean, there's nothing like, I mean, I think there's only been 36 or 37 quarterbacks that have had been fortunate enough to quarterback a world championship football team. And now we're going to have another one added to it. One of these two young men will join the fraternity. But it's something very special to be able to lead a group of men, really lead an organization to the highest mountain you can get in our profession.
Joe, I heard you yesterday. Pat Kerwin's a friend of ours, as he is yours, and comes on the show regularly. Yeah. And so moving the chains. And I heard your appearance yesterday in which you said, because the very next year you guys make it back, you play the Raiders, and you had a bye week. You had 2 weeks off before that one. And you said, now remember, we didn't have bye weeks back then, so the 2 weeks could affect a team a lot more. And you, in fact, believe that if you guys had played the game today, the Thursday before game day, that you would have won, but that between Thursday and Sunday, you guys lost something. Now, I know both these coaches have been in this game in various roles, but most of these players haven't been in this game. Can you just, and things are different now with bye weeks, do you think the 2 weeks has the impact now that it had on your team then?
No, I don't. I think they're very much accustomed to it. The coaches are accustomed to it. The players are accustomed to it. And it really wasn't the team. Our team was. I just played a lousy football game. I was the one that Thursday I was sharp as could be, mentally, physically. I felt like I threw the ball. And then as Friday and Saturday rolled around, for some reason I lost my edge. Cannot give you an explanation as to why it felt different. Then when I got into the game, it felt different. Of course, the Raiders didn't have certain people when we played them during the season either. I mean, I don't think Howie played. I'm not sure Marcus played. They added Mike Haynes. I mean, you've got when you add a corner like that, who's a Hall of Famer, it changes things. And there were 4 or 5 plays in that game that made a difference. And I just wasn't near as sharp as I had to be. And that's the thing about ours. But we don't get 7 games. You could, in the NBA or in Major League Baseball or in hockey, you can have a lousy first game and run the table and win 4-1. In our game, it's one shot. You ride the merry-go-round, the brass ring comes up, you get one grab at it, and if you're not ready or something happens that doesn't work out your way, you may never get a shot at it again. But I do believe it's different today. That was sort of the first time they'd gone to 2 weeks before. And, of course, it was a regular season. But now you have a bye week during the season. As a matter of fact, you look at teams that win the division. If you win the division, perfect bye weeks are around week 7 and 8 when you can get people healthy. Then you win the division and have the best record. You get another 2 weeks off. Then you play 2 games and you get another 2 weeks off. I think the one thing that these coaches have to be conscious of is keeping their team sharp. It's one thing getting them healthy. It's another thing when you play basically 2 football games in a 6-week period of time. How sharp will you be? How sharp can you be? That's why what's important about this game coming up is what the first 2 series look like. That's what I'm always watching. How are they going to come out of the gate? If they come out like gangbusters, I worry because there's always that adrenaline depletion after. They're flying around, and it feels like your feet are in lead. But if they come out with a level pace, and that's why it's always good, I think, to come out and run the football a little bit. Let the big guys up front get sweaty, start to maul people a little bit, and get them into the game. Because the quarterback, and you want to give your quarterback a throw that he can get a completion with. You don't want to have to squeeze one in early. It's a little unnerving that way.
Could it be the same instead of squeezing one in? Is going deep the same thing even if you don't get it, Joe, where you can just let one fly? Yeah. Does that loosen the quarterback up? Because, again, you're not trying to fit it into a window. You're just ripping it.
Absolutely, and that's the thing I think Kansas City will try and do because they've got so much speed outside. I think if it's going to be a short pass, it'll go to Kelsey. I don't see a big deep 15-yard dig, an in route. And Andy loves to throw the football. What's really interesting? We talked about this yesterday too. I talked to Brian Billick about this. You've got Andy Reid, sort of the grizzled veteran of coaches, has a wide open, spread out offense, loves to throw the football. You've got the young guy who you would expect to be that way in Kyle Shanahan, which he had down in Atlanta, spread it out, throw it around. Now he's got a football team, an offense that is basically old school. You've got a fullback. Your tight ends are very prominent in what you want to do. You basically run the football. You run a lot of play action, which really what Mike did. So it's very interesting to see the young guy doing what the more established teams did, and the older guy, more veteran guy, he spreads it out and throws around all over the place.
Well, and the obvious comparison is, when Kyle's dad, Mike Shanahan, was with the Broncos. I mean, in a way, Joe, this game and these teams kind of match up a whole lot like when Elway and Shanahan and that Broncos team ran the ball down the Packers' throat with Terrell Davis, and it was Mike Holmgren with Brett Favre, a la Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, and they were spreading it out and throwing it all over the lot, and styles make a fight. If we can get a game that's 3/4 as good as that Super Bowl, but I actually think the comparison of the teams, not only with the individuals involved, I actually think that's kind of the game that we're scheduled to get here.
I think so. Barring the craziness, there's one aspect of the game people don't talk about. Obviously, San Francisco's D-line is special. Patrick Mahomes is special. I think Jimmy is special. They don't give him enough credit. Because, you look at that San Francisco 49er game. He matched Drew throw for throw. The scores were back and forth, and he led them on a big drive at the end to be able to win the football game. I really feel like the game's going to boil down. Something's going to happen on special teams. And if that's the case, I'm sort of giving the nod a little bit to Kansas City because they've got, again, tons of speed. I don't know if Andy will let Tariq back there to return punts. It's going to be interesting to see who he decides to have back there. And here's the other thing, too. From a kickoff standpoint, with the rule the way it is now, if you kick it out of the end zone or the player gives it up, you start at the 25-yard line. But what I saw in the playoffs more and more, where the kicker's kicking it to about the goal line, about the 2-yard line, and really pinning the teams back a little bit more than the 25, making the field a bit longer. So that's just one other little element that goes along with this game. There's going to be 600 prop bets in this game. The coin toss, who'll kick first, how many field goals will be made, how many yards will Patrick Mahomes have, how many yards will Jimmy Garoppolo have, the rushing. You name it, there's a prop out there. If you can think of it, there's a proposition bet for it.
Well, and we've added a few more, Joe, because David is Troy Aikman's spotter. And, David likes food, so I have on Twitter all of my prop bets for what he's going to spill on his tie and or shirt during the game. So the bets still go up, Joe. There's no doubt about that.
How many spots? The over and under is probably 4 spots, I'm guessing.
And then the amount, Joe. And then what it is. Mustard, marinara sauce, barbecue sauce.
That's right. Then you have to bring are they sauces or is it liquid? Is it coffee? Is it juice? Is it water? Is it soda? There's 4 variations right there. We've just gone through 15 props on David's presence.
Right, on his outfit all alone.
Presence alone.
Hey, you called this game. Did you spill anything when you called this game?
No, as a matter of fact, I kept everything away from me just so I wouldn't spill it because I had the chance to do it with Don Meredith and Frank Gifford. That's something people don't realize. I played in 17, played in 18, and had the opportunity to broadcast 19, which just happened to be another Miami Dolphin game against the San Francisco 49ers out in Palo Alto. I replaced O.J. Simpson in the booth in that particular football game, which was really an introduction to broadcasting for me and gave me a real flavor for what I wanted to do after the game, after I was done playing.
Think about that, by the way, if it happened today. Joe, very much an active player when that happened. All right, and they put an active player in the booth.
Jack Kemp and I were the only 2 active players that ever had a chance to do that.
And that was Marino's Super Bowl and his only one. And I bring that up because, we interviewed one of the guys from Kansas City, local guy we've had on a bunch, smart, good guy, and we just asked, how many do you think they'll go to with Mahomes and Reed? And he's like, they're going to go to 3 and win 2, and I think that's a fair statement. But we have Aaron Rodgers, who's only been to 1. We had Dan that only went to 1. Obviously, you understand the magnitude of this, but I'm guessing Mahomes doesn't. He understands the magnitude of the game. No one's thinking of how many you're going to go to. But what advice would you give either of these guys, given the fact that, it could be their only shot at this game?
Seize the moment. This make believe that this is your one and only shot at the brass ring. Don't think about tomorrow. Don't think about yesterday. Stay in the moment and do the things that you need to do to win a football game. It's crazy. Dwayne Thomas, many, many years ago when he was interviewed by Tom Brookshire, after the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, Tom asked him about the game. He said, "You know what? It's just another football game." It's not, but it's almost like mentally you have to prepare like you're preparing for just another game. It has so many things around it, especially today, so many distractions, so much fanfare, so many questions, such scrutiny. But the fact of the matter is when they kick it off, it's a football game. It's going to be exactly like all the others they've played, and they're going to have to play well. And I say to these young men, don't think that there's going to be a tomorrow because this football team, each of these football teams will change. So this group of men that you're playing with, these coaches, the organization, It's never going to be the same. And keeping that in mind, that's why this moment has to be special for you. I mean, the teams change. You know, you're not going to see – I mean, think of the Buffalo Bills. 4 consecutive Super Bowls they went to with Jim and Andre and Bruce and those guys. That's unheard of. The New England Patriots winning 6, going to 9. You know, that'll never be done again, not in our lifetime or any lifetime, because who knows what the game of football is going to look like 3 years from now. Are they going to try and legislate out the kickoff? Are they going to try and legislate out punt returns? What are the safety issues going to be? What happens after the collective bargaining agreement expires in 2020 this year? Take the moment now. Do whatever you can to win this football game now. This has got to be a now moment, not, and of course the fans would love to see it happen. And Patrick's very special, but they weren't undefeated, so somebody beat them. Now the question is the same thing with San Francisco. Somebody beat them. Now you can say these teams will probably make the playoffs, but going past that, it's a crapshoot.
Joe, you said something at the beginning of this interview, and we're talking with Joe Theismann, who, of course, NFL MVP and Super Bowl champion with the Redskins. At the very beginning of the interview, you talked about the Super Bowl that you won, that Joe Gibbs said that week, guys, if we're just within a score with them, we're fine. You were one of the first teams to actually trail in a Super Bowl and trail for a significant period of time and win the game. And even still today, coaches and teams are not nearly as patient in the Super Bowl as they are during, quote unquote, any other game. Do you think that's a big factor? You know, the Chiefs have been behind early and often in these playoffs. Will Andy and Patrick stay as calm if they're behind 24 or 10 like they were in their first 2 playoff games? Because usually in a Super Bowl, it seems as if some panic sets in.
Well, I guess you could say a little bit of panic because there isn't another week. This is it. I mean, this is it, and then you have to live with whatever transpires in this game for the next 7 months. It's just it's a part of you for the next 7 months, and it can fester, or it can be you can be Gronk and celebrate life forever, or you can be like other guys and just walk around kicking yourself in the rear end, wondering why and what I could have done differently. I don't see Andy nor Kyle changing their personalities, which is also interesting. Andy loves to throw the football. That's been his history. Kyle, obviously, is the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. He loves to be able to run the football and do things off of that. Here's an interesting statistic. I looked at it yesterday. Patrick Mahomes averages 34 throws a game. That's what he averaged this year. And I thought Kyle Shanahan would be considerably less, but Kyle's at 30. So, I mean, both of them have the ability to do what they're going to do. I see maybe 6 or 7 plays in this game that would be different, but you're going to run this game. You're going to call this game with the plays that got you here. San Francisco is going to want to run the football. You're not going to see Juszczyk just sitting on the sidelines. It's just, it's Kelsey versus Kittle. I'm curious to see what parts they play. Kelsey wasn't a big part of the last game. These 2 guys are important to what these teams are going to do on offense. That's where their mismatches come, in the linebackers versus the tight end situation. And obviously, San Francisco can't just rush 4, because if Patrick gets outside with all that speed, there's no telling how many big plays they're going to be able to make. On the other side of it, don't think just because in the last 2 weeks Jimmy hasn't thrown the ball a lot that he can't, nor Kyle is willing to. I think we'll see San Francisco throw it a little bit more than they have, and I think I'll see Kansas City run it maybe a little bit more than they have. Those would be the differences, I would say.
Who's going to win it?
I like Kansas City. And it's interesting. I've always believed this. And George Allen taught me this back in the 70s when I joined the Redskins. Defense wins championships. You stop the run, you run the football, you have a better chance of winning than the other guys. And I say that, and the first thing everybody thinks of is, well, Kansas City throws it around. No. This game belongs to the Kansas City defense. If they can shut down or contain San Francisco's running game, I believe their offense can make enough plays to win. And so it really is defense that's going to make a difference in this game.
Well, Joe, thanks so much for your time once again. On the way out, I'll try to slide this in. It's a small world, okay? You know somebody that my mother knows, and she ran into him literally just a week ago. His name is Larry McFinsky. He was one of the buddies of yours back in South River, right when you were beginning your career. And in fact, the day you signed with the Redskins, I guess you were back in Jersey, and you told Larry about it. You guys played a pickup game, and Larry joked that he let you play quarterback. So Larry says
he was very
hi.
nice to me. He was very nice to me, and I'm always indebted to him because it sort of set me on the road of. First of all, I believe this 100%, and so saying that I close all my presentations with, it's nice to be important, but it's a lot more important to be nice. And Larry was really nice to me, and I send my best to him as well.
Well, Joe, you've been very nice to us. We wish you all the best, safe travels, and hopefully we can talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Can't wait to get back down there. All my grandkids are down there in South Florida, so it's a great time for me when my wife and I get down to see them.
Joe Theismann, Super Bowl champion, College Football Hall of Famer, NFL MVP, longtime broadcaster, member of the Redskins Ring of Fame, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton, and he picks the Chiefs to win